Hey, Michael Black Snow Comics here. August continued drawing daily every day for 2019. So let's take a look at what month 8 brought. So first up, we got a portrait I did of a YouTuber called Comics Tropes that I really enjoy. I've watched YouTube a lot for the last few years. Usually it's to do with gaming or wrestling. This year I started watching a lot more about comics and trying to get more back into that whole thing. So he's one of my favorites. He does a fan art thing every week on his show. So I thought it'd be fun to draw him. My kids are always asking me to draw other ones. I don't know. I just want to draw one I enjoy. And I did it in that kind of colored line style that I've been experimenting more with lately. I like it because it's really clean. But on the other hand, I think of how much more I could have done detail-wise and shading-wise, so I kind of go back and forth on it. And then I did the same kind of style with Woody from Toy Story. I think that style is pretty effective here since Woody's like a shiny plastic toy. And I think the clean look works for him well here. And I like the way this one turned out. And he's so much about form factor, like the floppiness and the way his arms go in and bulge out in certain spots, stuff like that. And I think it looks pretty good here. And then this was a request. Someone asked me to draw their pet snake, someone from Instagram. And I thought it turned out pretty good. It looked a lot like the snake, although a lot of people told me it looked like a Pokemon. So I guess I kind of see it. It was a cute looking snake to begin with, though. And then I did I did Scrooge McDuck, and I just kind of felt like it. I did the same style, and this is when I don't know, every time I do anything too many days in a row, I start to think, although I do still like it here, it's a nice clean look for a cartoon character, and kind of minimalist with, you could tell he's supposed to be like in his vault of coins, but I didn't have to draw out like all the detail of all the coins. Then the next day, since I was on my Disney afternoon kick, I went with Chip and Dale. I always enjoyed Rescue Rangers, and this time I decided to go more traditional with the black lines, and it fit more for this particular cartoon, I thought. And I played more with the filters and Clip Studio Paint, and I wanted it to look kind of like a cartoon title sequence or something where you see them popping through the space of something usually like a circle. Although that's more associated with Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes, but I thought it fit here too. Plus this is more of kind of nostalgic for me in a way because I haven't really revisited Chip and Dale's since it was on, but it's very much of a time and place that I could recall in my mind. Then I went with something different. I did El Santo. If you're not familiar with Mexican wrestling, lucha, he's one of the most famous in Mexican history. If you've seen where they show wrestlers like walking around in suits and making movies, and like if you saw Coco and the way that bad guy had made movies based around him being a singer, they did the same type of thing about this guy being a wrestler, and they made comic books of him and stuff. So he was an icon. He was a big deal. And then I went back to my my weekday afternoon, Disney afternoons, and went with Darkwing Duck. Same thing, not something I really revisited, so it's kind of fun to think back on that. I like the way this one turned out. Then I wanted to switch it up, and I tried something really different. I'm a pretty big fan of surf guitar, surf music, and Dick Dale's kind of his nickname's the king of the surf guitar, which I've put on here. But he's pretty legendary in that area and one of the pioneers of it. So I did something here where I wanted to have kind of an old school vibe from when it was prominent in kind of the 60s when it rose and when he was really big. and I did it in this more silhouette fashion where it's only black and white, and I really like the way it turned out. I worked pretty closely from a photo on this one of him, and I really like the way this came out. This is pretty cool. Then I did something else. As you can see, thing I like to do is switch it up kind of as much as I can so I don't get bored. So I did Clint Eastwood because someone requested Clint Eastwood because I'm the cowboy guy. You got to come to me to draw the cowboys apparently, which I like drawing, so it works. And for this one, I did something different where I did it only in a couple brown tones, and I wanted it to be really like minimalist and scratchy, and I wanted it to look as if it had been kind of I don't know, I wanted it to feel like old, like you think of with cowboys. Like, I don't know in particular if I meant for this to be like something scratched in dirt or written on like an old parchment or something. But I just wanted to have the effect of feeling old-fashioned, and I think it worked. And I think it's pretty instantly recognizable who it is, even though I didn't go like super detailed on it. Then this was from the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that they just had the movie come out, which I did see, and I liked it. I was a big fan when I was a kid, especially of all those really creepy drawings. That's what's really stuck with me. I remember the stories too, but which I was surprised when I was watching the movie, I was able to recall stories. Not something I've gone back to, but I guess they stick with you. And this is the corpse that comes looking for her toe, as she does appear in the movie. And my wife was really a big fan of this drawing, and people really like this one, which is kind of cool because it's not something that's super detailed in some ways, and it's kind of basic, but also it's something kind of striking visually. I followed that up with La Llorona. We had just watched a recent movie made about that legend. I'm pretty familiar with the legend, and this time I took it in a different route. It's very different from that last drawing of a creepy woman. And in fact, this one, my daughter kept saying, well, it looks like a man. As I was drawing it, I had to keep trying to tone it down a little because it was looking more like a man in drag or something. I think it looks pretty cool. If I drew it again, I'd probably do a few things differently. I might make the black into just blood around the eyes and some stuff, but I think it looks pretty good. Then I went back to Disney Afternoon and went with Gargoyles. I wasn't a huge Gargoyle fan. I liked it. Alex that did the comics with me, he was a huge fan of it, so I was kind of thinking of him while I did it. And I forget this guy's name. I think it's Broadway. I picked him just because I like the look of him, and I tried to really kind of make this my own, and I went back to that colored line style because I thought it fit well here. Then I followed that up with another picture of Bray Wyatt. In the past, I'd drawn him wearing his Fiend mask. Bray Wyatt's a WWE wrestler. This is him when he's in kind of more of his Mr. Rogers persona. He's hosting his Firefly Funhouse. I was pretty excited. This was a day or two after SummerSlam, I think, so I was pretty excited after he had debuted and done his first match as The Fiend. And my son is like the biggest fan of this whole thing, so we like to watch it and talk about it together. And he really thought this was a funny drawing. And well, I just followed that up by drawing Bray Wyatt's new lantern. This is a more cartoony take on the lantern. The last one, obviously, I went for kind of my more realistic portrait that I do when I tend to draw celebrities. This time, I went for a cartoony version of his lantern. His lantern's pretty freaky. It's a version of his own head as he used to look, with the light coming out of his mouth, and he holds it by the dreadlocks. So I thought that was a pretty cool image. I just wanted to draw that. And then, this was a pretty popular one. I really like the way this came out. This is probably one of the coolest ones I've done in a while. So I'm a big fan of Bruce Campbell and Evil Dead, and that was something that I wanted to draw at some point. So finally I went for it, and I drew him holding the chainsaw, and I wanted him to be really bloody because the movie's known for the blood. One of the quotes is like they talked about making it rain blood in the theater or something, and they have a scene where they have multiple scenes of blood like getting all over a light bulb to cause everything to be red. They have blood going on the screen. When I went to Evil Dead the musical, they had a section you could sit in where they would actually pour blood from the ceiling down onto you. So blood's associated with it. And then I went back to trying to add some, when I can think of them, when I think it's appropriate, I add words. So for him, of course, groovy fits pretty well in there. And I love the way this looks. I kind of went back and forth. Originally, I was thinking of making it black and white, except for the blood, which is a look I've always liked. Instead, I decided to just try to use really muted colors, so the blood would still stand out, but you get a little bit of color to him. And I was thinking of making it all black in the background, but I kind of just played around with it. I ended up really liking the way this looked. Then I had a request to draw another monster from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This is kind of the iconic monster, Harold the Scarecrow. And this looks really cool. Of course, you can see I went with gray tones to match the style of the original book drawings. But I really like this looks like something that would be in a book to me. Like, this is really well done. I don't know, the composition of it, the little background flurry I added with I think it's called Sandstorm, which is one of the textures in Clip Studio. And then I don't know, just everything about this one really strikes me. Like, I could see this seems pretty pro to me. Then I decided to do George Romero. I was thinking about him after something I had read, and he had passed away. Not super recently, but recently enough, and he was on my mind, so I felt like drawing him. I always really enjoyed his work, and of course he was so important to the whole horror genre. I'm a big horror guy, if you haven't picked up on it by now, and Night of the Living Dead really said a lot of things, and I like the way this turned out. I tried to do with the shadows here, I tried to add some different color tones to them to make them cooler and warmer in different spots, and I think I like the way this one turned out. Then I decided this is something I meant to do right after Bart Starr passed away, but this is the old Packers quarterback Bart Starr. My dad's a huge Packers fan. Bart Starr got him into it, so I'm a pretty big Packers fan myself now. My son's a big Packers fan, so I wanted to do some kind of tribute to him after he passed, so I finally got a chance to do that. And I wanted to keep it a little more simple than that Romero we had just seen, because I was working off of him in his prime, and I don't know, it was just like a more simple classic look that he had, so I wanted to kind of capture that here. And then this was my birthday, and I don't know, sometimes I draw like people on their birthdays. I've already drawn myself in the past. I thought about drawing myself now because I stopped wearing my glasses after my optometrist said I didn't need to wear them unless I wanted to, or unless my eyes are bothering me. And I shaved my beard down to just the goatee, so I look different enough that it would be worth drawing, but I didn't really feel like drawing myself. And even though I've drawn Hellboy before, it was a much more realistic looking Hellboy. I decided to go much more of the comic book or almost cartoon style Hellboy, and I wanted it to be funny this time because he's celebrating my birthday. So yeah, it was a decent birthday. I turned 36. Nothing too fancy or exciting. I mean, it was pretty low key. Not that many people were doing much for it. In a little way, it's kind of a bummer, but I mean, when you get older and you're 36, who cares about your birthday that much? One thing that I do sometimes when it's my birthday is I kind of take stock of things. I'm the type of guy that spends a lot of time in his own head, and I get pretty introspective, and birthdays seem to be a time where that comes up, which can make me kind of a downer for that type of stuff, but it kind of makes you take stock. And like, as it relates to this taking stock, I would think, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing the daily drawings? What is it accomplishing? What could I be doing with that time? as a 36-year-old, is my time best spent sitting around drawing like cartoon characters from the past and stuff, or could I be doing something else? So I think about those kind of things, and I think back to different times in my life where maybe I was a bit more ambitious with what I was going to do with my life. I don't know. I don't want to get too down on you and bring this whole thing down, but that's the type of stuff that kind of runs through my head. And financially, things have been very hard lately. So I think also, like, if I'm doing something this much, should I be making money off of it? And why haven't I made more money off it at this point? I mean, I do have a Patreon, but I only have one patron right now, which is my sister. I do get occasional freelance work, so I get some money off of that. But it'd be nice if my stuff became more popular and I was able to make some money off of it in more ways. So that's still a goal. I don't know that it'll ever happen. And you might say, well, why don't you just get a job? I do have a full-time job, which is not drawing. So I do work full-time from home while I take care of my 3 kids, so it kind of limits what I can do as far as side hustles, but I'm always trying more and willing to do what it takes. But right now I've been focused on helping my wife get her business going to help bring in some income, so that's helped a bit. Then I decided to follow that up with Robert De Niro from Goodfellas. That's my favorite movie. I watched a little of it for my birthday, and after not watching it for a long time, and this is something I always wanted to draw, so finally I got to it and drew it. I think it turned out pretty good. A long time ago, I got my dad a portrait that's similar to this in black and white that someone had made of De Niro from the same scene. Then I had been watching The Boys, and I really liked The Boys. I did a review on it if you want to see that. But this is the Homelander from The Boys. I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. Although, this is one of those ones where I look at it and I think, oh, I could have done better. But at the time, I was happy with it. Then this ended up being really popular, which is kind of a nice surprise, because I don't know if people remember the old Aqua Teen Hunger Force. But I was pretty happy with the way this turned out. My wife said it looked better than the real one. This is one where I felt pretty comfortable putting like my own like little flourishes into it, because I'm so familiar with the characters and they're so basic to start with. But I really like this too. Composition wise, I think this is nice too, with these little flourishes in the background. So very happy with that one. Happy that the Aqua Teens still get love. To me, it's a very underrated, underappreciated show. Then I followed that up with Space Ghost, naturally. The two are pretty paired in my mind. I was a big fan of both. Of course, Space Ghost came first. Space Ghost, I was Space Ghost for Halloween in the past. I've always really liked Space Ghost. Space Ghost really helped inspire me when I was coming up with my own comedic superhero stuff. So he's part of the inspiration for Black Snow. Then I was traveling. This time I brought my like nice paper and my pens and stuff. So this was the day after I saw the Scary Stories movie, and my wife really liked the Jangling Man, who is a big creepy weirdo in the movie. So I decided, well, she asked me to draw him, and I decided to try to draw him. He's always contorting really weirdly, so I wanted to draw him. One of the first times you see him, he's like upside down looking at you. So I wanted to try to capture that, and I think it looks pretty cool. And then the next day I was still like out of town, so I had my stuff. And at first I was going to draw something totally different, but as I was just trying to get started and thinking, Gollum popped to my mind. I don't know why. So then I just went with Gollum. And this ended up being one of the most popular things I think I've drawn. Some people really were drawn to this one. They really enjoyed it. So that was kind of nice, a nice surprise. And then My son had asked me to draw Kermit the Frog because he's into all these Kermit the Frog memes. So now Kermit's got a whole new fame thanks to the internet. And I like the Muppets well enough. It was kind of fun to draw. I like drawing these puppets and trying to take what's 3D and make it 2D, which, I mean, that's most drawing. But you could really feel it with the puppets in the way that they're 3D. Followed that up with Yoda. This turned out pretty well. My sons always tell me, why don't you draw the whole thing? So for a nice short character like Yoda, it's easy to draw the whole thing. Well, I like the way this turned out. I wouldn't mind doing just a close-up of Yoda's head as well, though. Because even though my son likes them to be full body, I could do a lot more detail work when I get chest up, which I did here. And I decided to draw Wolverine. No particular reason. I just always kind of wanted to. I like Wolverine. I like his classic costume. This was just an image that I had in my head when I felt like drawing him with his claws up, yelling to the sky dramatically. To me, Wolverine's always like very angry. So I wanted him to be like very, very upset in my drawing. That's what I was going for. And then this is from an old 70s, I believe, cartoon movie called Wizards that someone gave me a tape of when I was a kid, and it was pretty influential on me because I really liked the art style of the characters and him in particular. So I was always doodling them and thinking about them. It's something that's always stuck with me, so I felt like drawing that. And then I decided to get silly and draw a classic foot soldier from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, but I wanted him to be in that Karate Kid crane kick pose, which I thought would be even funnier since for some reason the foot soldiers, well, they're robots, but they had extended arms. Like their arms are probably a good foot longer than a normal human arm should be. So for him to do the pose with his arms like up looks even funnier. So I thought this was a pretty funny one. And then I think this is the last one for the month. That I was trying to calculate it and figured out ahead of time. We're on the 3rd, so there's 3 pictures underneath. So it's safe to say this was the last one for August. And it's Rick and Morty. I like Rick and Morty a lot. It's pretty great stuff. So I felt like drawing that. And of course, the poses you could do for that are pretty limitless. But I decided to go with them being very scared of something because it seems like everyone's always screaming and scared and there's always chaos. So I want to capture that something going on around them is just terrifying, something unseen to us. So that was it for the month. Here's a preview of, I'll talk about these next month, I guess, because these are not from August. So yeah, August was a decent month. Like I said, birthday time, which, I mean, it wasn't all down. I had a decent birthday. My family did some stuff for me. And despite money woes, I mean, they're nothing that new for me. So I endure. One of the things that I did come to think of, one of the pluses that I've always come back to when I say, well, why do I want to spend this time drawing every day? And it's because really I don't take a whole lot of time for myself. Like I said, I work full time. I've got a house to maintain. I've got 3 kids that I spend a lot of time taking care of because I do work from home, and now that my wife's working, I spend even more time taking care of them. So I don't do a lot of stuff just for me. So it's kind of nice that I have at least one thing that I can look forward to every day, where it's like an hour out of the day that it's something that just I want to do, that's just for me. That said, there are days that I don't really want to do it, but I have that mentality where I've decided to do this daily challenge, so it's not kind of a question of, oh, can I skip? Because I'm not going to do that. I'm going to maintain a steady schedule of it. But as I've gone on doing it, I just try to focus on drawing things that I want to draw, things that I enjoy, And as I keep doing that, I've kind of toned down asking for requests or taking requests. I've still been getting some requests, and if they line up with my own interest, I take them. Some of these DeviantArt requests I don't care for. There's just so many weird kind of fetish people on that site that they ask me for weird things that I don't want to draw. I'll just be funny here. I'll tell you something. So, like, the guy that had me draw Bambi as Black Panther has asked me to draw, like, more pictures of Bambi with different deer in his family as Black Panther doing things, and like, it's not my intention to keep drawing the same weird thing. And then, like, another guy, or maybe it was, I don't remember, but multiple requests, and one of them was for something that they wanted me to draw privately that I wouldn't share with anyone, and I didn't draw it. I have no intention of drawing it, and I doubt they'll watch this, so I'm not going to say who it was, so I'll just tell you what it was. They wanted me to draw Blue from Blue's Clues standing up on, like, two legs and wearing a diaper and, like, looking directly at you, which is such a specific, odd thing that I can only imagine it's some kind of weird cartoon dog diaper fetish. I don't know. DeviantArt, there's a reason, I guess, that it has deviant in the name. Anyway, August was a decent month. September, as you can see, is starting off pretty fun. I'm really looking forward to October because I'm going to focus strictly on drawing horror things the entire month. There's been a number of things that I've already wanted to draw, but I've held off on because I want to save them for then. So I'm really looking forward to that. But before that, we got a whole month of this to get through, and focusing on things that I like has made it fun for me, and it's been fun for me to find out how many other people are into stuff that I like. So I guess that's it for now as we chug along on this year, now that we are more than 2/3 of the way through. So, well, are we? Yes, we are. I had to think for just a second in case I got that wrong. I don't want to look like a fool. Anyway, until next time, that's it for now.